Hello, everybody, and welcome to another chat with Andy the Cabby on the Sunday, the usual slot. Here I am. Hope everyone is doing all right. First of all, I see a few people in already, a lot of the regulars. Let's have a quick look and say a few hellos just to give other people a chance to join in on this important subject. Gary Thornbury, hello. Blood Nose, Tad the Lad, good to see you. Julie Baldwin, hello to you as always. Nigel the Handyman. Who else we got? Ryan. Tell me how to pronounce your name, Malloy. Effie. You keep trying to tell me. But good evening to you anyway. Hello, Surf. Who else we got here? Midnight Drifter, hello to you. Good to see you. Moth's Mummy, Matt Wooten, Colin Waller, good to see all of you. Excellent. Minute Ryan, you're just such a darling. Yeah, he's not bad, is he? Oh, Ryan, he's good. He's good. What I wanted to do tonight, I wanted to Aoife, is that right? Well, that answers that question. The sound's all right as well. David L., hope you're good. Good to see you as well. And everybody's in. We've got 40 in now. Hi, Andy. You have a good crack. Pete from Durham. Yeah, I got it. Aoife. Excellent. Hello, Aoife. I'm used to your other screen name that you had. Yeah, if you haven't done so already, please hit the like button. Give this a thumbs up. And if you can, share it if possible, because this is important material that we need to go through. I've had a few people lately message me privately about council tax. Specifically, they've got bailiffs on the door, or they're having problems with what's going on with their local councils. So I put it to the vote. Do I do a live on this? And I did it in a video the other day, and people said, yeah, Andy, let's do a live on it. Because, you know, if it helps one person, just one person, then at least we've achieved something, haven't we, with this channel of ours. Now, hello, Tricia. Good to see you. And Chris R as well. Like bum crack. It's very important to distinguish something here with council tax. There's two schools of thought. The first school of thought is do not pay it. It's illegal. It's unlawful. Magna Carta, Bill of Rights, and all the rest of it. And then the other school of thought is we pay it, but, you know, we can run into problems. Now, where I sit on this whole thing is the middle ground, because I can see a lot of what they're saying over this side, but the way I believe things operate is we have to operate within the law they put in front of us. In other words, turn it on its head and shove it up their arse. You know, that's what I think of this. Now, before I go any further, there's one thing I want to go through. I received a comment on a video I did, which was quite interesting regarding council tax. Where are we? Paul Fisher. Don't answer door to bailiffs. Never give them your name. I'll show you something in a little while, which goes down that line as well. Yeah, Joe. The answers are on the public domain. And hello, Angela Gardner. Good to see you. Hope you're well. Yeah, I received this comment, and I'm not going to tell you who put it because the person actually said that they like this channel and, you know, like the videos that I do here, but they did take issue with, you know, what I said, and I want to read it because it's important. Hello, Frugal Stew. Good to see you. Okay, so this person, you have really let yourself down with this video. And when I saw that, it got my attention. With respect, you're talking absolute rubbish. I used to be a bailiff and a High Court enforcement agent and still hold a certificate, so I know the process. There is no such thing as council tax bailiffs. There is no such thing as bailiffs anymore. They are now called enforcement agents. Since the 6th of April 2014, I know this, by the way, for clarity, who enforce liability orders from the court. Enforcement agents don't give a liability order back after 30 days, so that's nonsense. Councils don't use debt collectors. Don't ignore enforcement agents, as willful refusal to pay can lead to an arrest warrant. I used to enforce them, and people can go to jail. There's multiple letters from local authority and the enforcement company before anyone turns up, so you have ample opportunity to set up an arrangement if you're struggling. I love your videos, but you have misled a lot of people in this one and could get them into trouble. So I suggest you do your homework before putting out incorrect information. It's very harsh, wasn't it? But he had an opinion like anyone else. And if you have an opinion, we all must respect our opinions. And this guy's opinion is obviously qualified because he was a bailiff. Now, he says there's no such thing as council tax bailiffs, and there's no such thing as bailiffs anymore. I want to show you something. First of all, this comes straight from the government website. I don't know if everyone can see this, so I'll make it full screen. Chris R makes a very valid point as well. It's a civil matter. It's not a criminal matter. This is straight off the government website. And they use the term bailiff. Bailiff powers when they visit your home. So, there's no such thing as bailiffs anymore. It's on the government website. But there are different types of bailiffs. And you can see there, certificated enforcement agents, High Court enforcement agents, County Court and Family Court bailiffs, bailiffs who enforce magistrate court fines and warrants for arrest, either civilian enforcement officers or approved enforcement agents. And it goes on to list, each one and what their responsibilities are and what you need to do if you are met with one. So the term bailiff is very much still in use. We obviously just subdivide that category down into different areas. Angela Gardner, thank you very much for £2 super sticker. Very much appreciated, and thank you for the support. I hope you're well. Paul is agreeing with Chris there. Yeah, so the term bailiff is still used, although the gentleman is absolutely correct. They are more commonly known as enforcement officers or enforcement agents, and they are, they have different responsibilities depending on what they're turning up for. Bailiffs are those who bail you out when your vessel's being submerged by a debt. Okay. So the next point, I didn't intend to start off with this, by the way. It's just it come out. Enforcement agents don't give a liability order back after 30 days, so that's nonsense. Okay, I've heard lots and lots of examples of these cases or these liabilities ending up being sent back to the council, either by the fact that the person's gone to the council and erased the problem by dealing with them or paying up, or an arrangement has been made. So the bailiff or enforcement agent may not necessarily willfully give it back, but the council can tell them to. So we're dealing with it now. That's the whole point of this exercise. Multiple letters from local authority and enforcement company before anyone turns up. So you have ample opportunity to set up an arrangement if you're struggling. You are correct there. You know, the council will send lots of letters. They will. And the other one will send lots of letters. The enforcement agents will as well. The problem is a lot of councils now are sending things to enforcement agents and through the court process and everything else far quicker than they should be without giving the resident a chance to sort it out. This is half of the problem. Well, in fact, it's the majority of the problem. A lot of people get scared by these intimidating letters coming in the post with red capital letters underlined, "You will do this," and they stick their head up their backside and hope it goes away. That's human nature. That's what causes all this trouble in the first place. It's really as simple as that. My facility here, or my job here, is to try and enlighten people into what you can actually do about it if it goes too far. And there are exceptions. Now, I want to show you a video, right, of an actual bailiff from Marston's. And have a look at this. I'll just load it up on the screen. I see Joe D mentioning the law of the high seas. I heard a great story about that. And I'll tell you that in a little while. But have a look at this. This is a bailiff or enforcement agent that turned up on somebody's door. And look what happened.
You just out, that's your, is it Mark Cotnix or something like that?
No, my name's Daniel Pickering.
Right, no bother. You haven't got any idea, anything, have you? Just
I don't have to prove anything, mate. You're Marston's, I know who you are.
Aye, but I'm an arrest officer.
No, you're not. I know who Marston's are.
I
used to be a solicitor, mate, and I know how it works.
But I'm on the arrest side, not on the bailiff side.
But this is nothing to do with me. I don't have to prove. I'm not being funny against you, mate, but I don't have to prove
if I have to come back, but you're recording it.
Yeah, for my own safety, mate. That's fine, yeah.
Right, so I've got to let you tell you that I'll be reporting back to the court that you've not shown us any ID.
I don't have to show you an ID, mate. No.
So if I come back with the police, then you will show ID.
No, I won't, mate, because I don't have to prove who I am, mate.
Well, just letting you know that.
Yeah. If you want to, can I just ask you something? No.
I'm just letting you know.
That's fine.
Well, I've got you as an arrest warrant.
It's not an arrest warrant. I know who Marston's are, mate.
But I'm a warrant officer on behalf of the magistrate.
But it's not.
And this is an arrest warrant.
So that's a warrant. A warrant needs a signature, we think.
That's right. But it's just gone digital for 10
years.
It isn't.
No, it isn't, mate. I know how it works. Simple as. No, I know how it works.
Then you'll be shown ID.
No, I don't. Excuse me. I don't have to show any ID. No, I don't. I don't have to prove anything. And if you want to find out who lives at that property, go through Northwoods Housing. No, pal. Speaking to me like that? No way.
That's the kind of thing that people are met with at the front door. Now, that guy was quite confident in dealing with it, and inevitably you'll get some bald, bulky bloke turn up trying to look as hard as possible, throwing his weight around, trying to intimidate you into bending over. That guy didn't get his own way and legged it, threatening the police and all sorts of stuff. But you imagine a vulnerable person answering the door, or someone with not the bollocks that guy had answering the door. They're going to get walked all over. And that is when it gets as far as somebody knocking on the door. It really is quite frightening. Yeah, David L., valid point. Imagine that being your granny or your daughter. And, you know, what if you had a situation where you went out and, you know, the people in your house weren't briefed on or didn't know how to deal with the situation, and you came back and one of these bastards was sitting in your front room? It doesn't make for good viewing. I'll tell you a story right now. About 10 years ago, this wasn't council tax related. This was to do with an old parking thing. I started getting knocks on the door at really silly o'clock in the morning, and it was a bailiff looking for me. Now, at the time, 10 years ago, do the maths, my wife was quite heavily pregnant with Jack. So I didn't take very kindly to somebody coming knocking on my door at 5 o'clock in the morning, dropping stuff through and frightening everybody. Now, when I looked into it, what it was, a few years before, I went and scrapped a vehicle, or I was going to go and scrap a vehicle I didn't need anymore because I got a job with a company car. I left the thing on the road, and then what happened after that, I gave the keys to my dad and said, they're going to come round and they're going to take the car, sort it all out for me. My dad come to my work later on and told me that the car had been clamped. It was untaxed. I'd put it on the road for the scrappies to come and get it, but the DVLA enforcement guys had got to it first. So, yeah, it wasn't great. I phoned the DVLA and they turned around and said, simple, if you want the car back, take the fine, pay the fine. If you don't, we'll just crush it. I said, well, I don't want the car. I got a new one. So they just crushed it. And this caught up with me years later. And Mr. Bailiff, knock on the door, ... Absolutely crazy. What I did in my case, I phoned the local county court and explained the situation to them. And I applied for a court order to get the whole entire episode reset back to the beginning. And while I was down the court on the same day getting this done, the bailiff come back to my house while I wasn't there. And you should have seen the look on his face. What I did, I got on the dog and bone. I called him up and told him to come back and speak to me. And we were on my doorstep and he was saying, oh, this is rubbish. I'm going to contest it. Hang on. This is an official bit of paper from the court and you're telling me you're a higher authority than the court. Fucking get out of here. And he said, if you're up, I'll be back and I'll take, yeah, bye. Never saw him again. And the whole matter was resolved. So you need to know how to work the system. You need to know how to do it. Now, I digress. Let's get back to council tax. Now, one of the main problems with council tax, of course, is people building up arrears. And, you know, Jeremy Hunt in the budget put up that councils can up their council tax by nearly 5% without a referendum. So there's an awful lot of them, and I will be bringing out a video tomorrow as well, who have done just that, and it's going to make life difficult for people. You need to keep it with the council. There are other arguments that say don't pay it, don't do it, whatever, but, you know, you need to keep it with the council. There's a thing called the Local Government Finance Act. I don't know if anyone's heard of that, but what that does, that lists everything in there, how a council's got to behave and what they've got to do with regard to local government finance. And there's a thing in there called Section 13A. Now, Section 13A is a particular section which gives councils discretionary powers over how they act with council tax. Now, I'll read the section to you. A reduction under Section 13A of the Local Government Finance Act 1992, or Section 13A as it is known more often, was initially introduced in England and Wales by way of Section 76 of the Local Government Act 2003. The relevant section of the resolution was later amended in 2012. The key section which authorises discretionary reductions is Section 13A, Section 1. And that reads, the amount of council tax which a person is liable to pay in respect of any chargeable dwelling and any day as determined in accordance with section 10 to 13, in any case may be reduced to such an extent, or if the amount has been reduced under paragraph A or B, such further extent as the billing authority for the area in which the dwelling is situated thinks fit. So in other words, they have discretionary powers by which they can, decide what to do if you are in genuine need. Now, I know this works because I've used it myself, and I know other people, other examples of people that have used it also. Now, there is a particular letter. You have to word it in such a way, and I'll show you that now. And then I'll give you my example. Angela, I see what you say, but stick with it because it could help somebody. You never know. Okay, this is a template letter to do with section 13A. Dear section 151 officer, and you put your name, your council tax and everything else. I'm sorry I'm unable to keep up payments towards my council tax arrears. My reason for applying for a discretionary reduction is as follows, and you have to put something in there about your case. I'm asking you to review my council tax bill and see whether I owe this and whether I would have received further help or reductions from the council towards this bill. My application under section 13A is separate to any entitlement I may have. If I'm liable for the above, account is correct, and it goes on further. And you have to fully state your case. Like if you've got any vulnerable persons in the house, for example, and any other mitigating circumstances which might fit the bill. You address that to your council's section 151 officer. Now, your council's section 151 officer is the chief financial officer for your local council, who has a fair bit of the power to make financial decisions. Now, in my particular case, I went to 3 years ago when COVID kicked off. Truth Junkie. Yes, absolutely correct. Section 13A is only if you owe council tax, not to stop paying it. It is used for the council to make a discretionary wiping of the debt. Absolutely correct. It either reduces some of it or all of it. That's not an excuse to not pay it. It's a mechanism by which to maneuver you out of trouble. Thank you, Angela. God bless you as well. And I'll see you soon. Take care. Yeah, it's literally a mechanism to get you out of, a bit of grief. Now, in my particular case, 3 years ago, COVID hit. Everything stopped, including my business and my income. The shit hit the fan, and it was really, really bad. What happened next? I had a load of council tax liability and various other things that had to be dealt with. And I had a look and found all this stuff. And what I did, I wrote to the council and, put in a section 13A request. I said that my business had fallen on its arse. I'm not going to be able to pay the bill at the moment. And I don't see any situation in the near future where I could pay my bill and keep up with my future obligations. Could you look at trying to give me a reduction or a wipeout? And they replied, and I got my own way, let's just say. They actually agreed to do what I was asking them. Now, Truth Junkie makes a very good point. There is no guarantee that they will still let you off either. There is never a guarantee. The key word is discretionary. But a lot of people do not know that this facility is here. They don't, and they need to. Section 13A, Google it, and I have some information for you to help you as well, which I'll tell you about towards the end of the live stream. This is the daily chat with Andy the Gabby Cabby, everybody. We've got 117 in the chat. Hello to all of you. Good to see you. And if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing. It's completely free, no obligations whatsoever, and it does help this channel. Also, if you haven't done so already, please hit the like button. And if you can, share this live stream if possible, because it's useful information that will help somebody somewhere. And thank you, everybody, for participating. Colin Waller, the government shut your business down, not you, Andy. Yeah, I'd agree with that one. And it got shut down very quickly. Thankfully, we recovered. Hi, Mum. Good to see you. Now, I mentioned a Section 151 officer. A Section 151 officer is the chief financial officer of your particular council. If you've got a problem with council tax or any other financially related issue, go to them. Christine Ayres, I tried the 13A trick with the council, never replied to my emails. I only replied when I offered to make reduced payments, which they accepted. Crafty buggers they are. I'd complain to the ombudsman, Christine, to be honest, and I wouldn't email them. I'd write to them by recorded delivery with things like this. That's what I'd do. Hello, Alan Reader. Joe D, discretionary is applied to friends of the council authority, not some struggling single woman with health problems and a child with learning difficulties. Well, give it another try. Give it another try. Section 151 officers. Somebody has put a very handy resource together. And I'll show you that now. This is a list of all. It's still under construction because they're still compiling it. But it's a list of the names of the Section 151 officers and their addresses and contact details for as many councils as these people could find out. And there's a fair few there in alphabetical order. You see Cheshire, Cheshire West, Chorley, Cornwall, Coventry, Derby. So there's a fair spread. I mean, look there, Dover, Mike Davis, with an email address and a website with further contact information. They're all there. Now, the Section 151 officer is the person you write to with all of these matters, and then they can make those discretionary decisions. If you don't write to a Section 151 officer, what will probably happen, it will just get pigeonholed in some council pigeonhole thing somewhere, and it will take a lot longer to actually get a response than it would do normally. So, Section 151 officer, at least it's going to who it's meant to. Now, let's just have a quick look in the chat and see what people are saying. And then we'll move on to the next bit. Joe, one must write by recorded delivery to the council asking about the discretionary fund. Yeah, I agree with you. Recorded delivery always. And then, we know it's there. I'm not making this up. I'm not guessing. I'm someone who's took the council on and never lost a case. One thing I've realised, Joe, as well, a lot of the time, they don't actually know their own procedures properly. They don't know their own procedures. There is an actual handbook by which they have to govern themselves, and they don't. Truth Junkie, you need to make it absolutely clear to your viewers that they must be in considerable debt first before contacting the Section 151 officer. Otherwise, it will be wasted. Me personally, it was about 1,200 quid, and I got it sorted. I've seen one example of someone that had a £250 outstanding and an attachment of earnings order for about 1,000, and it all got dealt with, and they had a affordable repayment plan set up. And, you know, this was the Section 151 officer that did it. Yeah, Paul Fisher, you make a very valid point as well. Them in the council are only script readers. When you first get into this, the councils have some very stringent guidelines by which they will accept. You know, you could have £500 outstanding on a council tax bill, and they'll want it all by the end of the year. And, you know, £50 or £60 a month is an awful lot of money to people. And then you think, oh, I can't pay that. And then it escalates, and then it ends up out of their hands, you know, and you end up with the council tax enforcement. Andy, by considerable, I mean more than 50 quid. That's considerable enough for me. Joe, only certain officers within the council who know what their procedures are. I agree with that one. I've known that with our local council. With other matters I've had to deal with. This is it as well, isn't it? You're not supposed to know. They don't want you to know. So, what I've just told you is how you try and get reductions on any debt, work with the council and try and get through to them and, you know, keep it in their ballpark. But a lot of the times, what will happen after that is it will end up going to the nasties that are going to come and knock on your door, like that video that I just showed you. What you will get through is a summons saying that your case is going to court to be heard because you've racked up a certain amount of arrears. Now, one of the things that this person commented on earlier was it's a magistrate's court warrant and they can then come and enforce it. But at the very early stage, and I found this out and I've had it corroborated by somebody else as well, it doesn't go anywhere near the magistrates. What this summons is you get from the council. It's actually produced by the council and it's got a number on it, which is a council number. It's not a court number. It's a council number. And they have a batch of these things. And what they do, they hire a room or a courtroom out at a local county court, not magistrates. And then they will sit there with your case and a bulk load of others. Has this been dealt with? Have we had contact from the person? Right, no, that can progress. Has this person been dealt with? Oh, have they? What have they said? Okay, well, we'll put that in that part. You know, they will all get bulk dealt with. Now, the reason I found this out, when it happened to me, I actually phoned the courthouse where I was supposed to go and be, and they actually say, you do not need to turn up. And I said to them, I've got this hearing number and the time and everything. Can you tell me anything? And they said, well, this isn't actually an official court summons. This is produced by the council. And what they're actually doing, they're renting a room or renting a courtroom out for the day, and they're going to sit here and go through all this stuff and work out what's what. So it's not actually an official court hearing just for you. So if they're producing what looks like a summons, that's out of order. And to me, that's last chance saloon. If you get one of those on the phone, email, right, we've got to sort this out, keep this within. You know, it's sleight of hand deception. It's awful. So what happens if it goes past that point and still nothing is done? Well, you end up with it going to somebody like Marston's or one of the other companies who are there to enforce warrants and the collection of things like council tax arrears, etc. Now, it's very important to realise that by the council referring this process to somebody else in the way they've done it, they're not allowed to do it. And people just don't know that. you know, the bailiffs and the ex-bailiffs and everything else can come on this channel and go, "You're talking bullshit, Andy. You're talking bullshit." Am I? Show me. Prove it to me, because I've seen stuff to the contrary. And I've seen people's success stories to the contrary. Do not deal with them. Now, this guy used the term willful refusal to pay. You're not willfully refusing to pay anything. What you're willfully refusing to do is deal with bullies. You want it back with the council and you want to deal with them. Keep it with them and keep it away from the bailiffs. Now, if it goes that far and they start coming round, do not answer the door, do not cooperate, do not have any interaction with them at all. It is the council you want to deal with. Now, there's a couple of ways of doing it. If you can afford to clear what you've got to clear, then do it. And do it directly to the council. End of story. But inevitably, a lot of people can't. And a lot of people are of the opinion, well, I don't have to because of common law, Magna Carta, and all the rest of it. That's something I'm not getting into here. There is a thing called the four-letter process. The four-letter process. And this is a process by which you attack both the council and the enforcement agent in writing. And you basically tell them or lead them to believe, I am not playing your game. I want to deal with the council. And we'll go through these letters now. Now, this is the first one. I'll bring this up. I thought I had this loaded. Bear with me a second. There we go. Okay, I hope everyone can see this. Now, in the first letter, one of the first pages is if you're a vulnerable person. Now, you're a vulnerable person if there is a child involved, or you have mental or physical disabilities, which puts you in a vulnerable position. You send this letter to them, and they'll want to know any details of any illnesses, any medication or anything like that, proof of it. And you quote legislation. That's there. That's the vulnerable person's letter. Only send that if you do have, you know, some kind of vulnerability. The next page you send to both the debt collector or enforcement agent and the Section 151 officer at the council. And that's to tell them that their implied right of access to your property is removed. Nobody's welcome. No corporation, no associate or anything else that's got anything to do with either of them. You want it dealt with in writing only. The next thing, and you send it to the debt collection company, is a GDPR notice. And that's putting them on notice that they're going to cease processing your personal information because they shouldn't have it. So stop processing your personal information. Now, those 3 pages form letter 1. So you send to the council and debt collector a vulnerable persons notification if you're vulnerable. Then you send to the debt collector and the Section 151 officer at the council something removing their implied right of access. And then lastly, the debt collector, stop processing my information. That's letter 1. Now, it's very important to note here as well that these debt collectors are aware that these templates exist. These enforcement agents are aware that these templates exist, and they will use that as some kind of tacit defense in their advantage. They will say, you've used a template, it means nothing. So try and alter them slightly to benefit your circumstances. Now, when you send that package, that first letter package, one or two things will happen. The council will either take the debt back or they'll refuse. If they refuse, you send them the second letter. I'll put that on the screen now. I get a bit animated about this because I don't like the corporations taking things away from the little person, if you know what I mean. Now, the second letter is basically a request for more time to pay. I make this formal request to the council to consider using its discretionary power under the Department for Communities and Local Government guideline, basically giving me more time to pay. Everything's there. If the council still refuse to take it back from the bailiff, consider writing to your Member of Parliament, and we'll come to that in a minute. But that goes to council. It says the debt collector there, but it's not. It's the council. More time to pay. And again, it's throwing their own legislation and debt recovery information at them. You've got to let them know that you know what you're doing. So that's letter 2. And again, they'll do one or two things. They'll either take it back or they'll carry on regardless. So then we come to letter 3. Now, letter 3 is a Section 13A request, as we've already discussed. And you're asking your council or the Section 151 officer at the council to apply a discretionary discount to your account, pull it back in, give you a discount or wipe off the debt and prove that you can't afford it. Now, the whole key thing here is to try and get it back from the to the council from the enforcement agent. You can see some success stories down here. We have been given some extra funding from central government due to the coronavirus, and we're able to use it to help council taxpayers that may be on low incomes. Given your circumstances and issues you've detailed in the past, I've asked my colleagues to award you extra support towards your old arrears. This is to help you get back on track. Another one, following the award of council tax support and the discretionary award, your balance was left at 0. So this is all stuff being pulled back into the council. Great at that stage. Now, it could be that ain't good enough, and they'll push it on a bit more. So you send the 4th letter. Then the 4th letter is where it gets interesting. This is where you use the data protection regulations against them. Now, I've heard this by Gavin at Sovereign Empowerment and Funky Prepper being called a weapon. You want to know everything, right down to the person that comes and knocks on the door, that they have about you. You want to know what the council knows, what the council has, what they've done with it, who's done what with it, why they've done it, who they've passed it on to, when they passed it on to, how it was transmitted, under what law. And then, you know, it goes down the chain, the enforcement agents, the door knockers, literally everybody, a data subject access request. You want to find out everything they've done to you. And I'll show you that one. And you can do this at any time from any corporation. This is a standard request. And this details what you want to know from them. And that's everything there. And there's also a very interesting version of this. They might ask for IDs to send it to them. There's a very interesting version of this called the Nightmare SAR, which basically goes into a hell of a lot more detail. So you're causing them big administrative issues with these things. And, you know, you want the council to deal with it. If they refuse to divulge anything to you, Information Commissioner's Office, they're breaching, you know, the Act. And there's some more ramblings on it there. So to summarize, 4 letters. Letter 1 is the vulnerable person's notification. If you're vulnerable or you've got something which could class you as vulnerable, remove their implied access rights and send a GDPR notice. Letter 2 goes to the Section 151 officer, more time to pay. Letter 3 is a Section 13A application to the Section 151 officer. Now, I would think at that stage, many applications would be successful and it would be put back into the council. And then letter 4 is a subject access request. You want to know everything, and that forms part of, you know, the defence later on. Now, at some stage, you may need to involve your local MP if they're not playing ball. Now, I've found my local MP personally very helpful to me. They've done a lot. Now, I'll give you the template for that as well. Before I do, David Hardy, councils are committing fraud. There's no obligation to pay council tax, no consent. Absolutely spot on. There is that school of thought. There is that whole thing going on there, which you have just said. Absolutely correct. But so many people don't know that, and so many people don't have the tools to be able to deal with this. They need the tools to be able to deal with this, and you've got to work within the system they put in front of you. And that's what this is about. You go over Funky Prepper's channel and have a look at some of the stuff he's done with Gavin, and that goes further down that road that you've just put in front of us there. Okay, so the letter to the MP. Okay, council tax enforcement and my local council. I'm writing to you and input the issues that affect you. I've asked the council to deal with me directly on the issue of council tax, but despite numerous letters, they instruct me to deal with an unregulated debt collector who's making unreasonable demands. And it goes on. You're basically getting them involved in it. Take your case on. And, you know, you get the backup of the MP there, and they will help you. They will help you. Probably more if it comes to voting time. Now, the words in this comment that I got, willful refusal. you're not willfully refusing. You're just refusing to deal with the bully boy enforcement agents. You want to deal with the council. If at any time you indicate you're willfully refusing, they have all the excuse they need to apply for a warrant to put your ass in jail. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. You have to work within the system. It stinks, I know, but you have to work within the system. Colin, in the main, you're correct. I've had other experiences with mine where they've been very helpful, but there are an awful lot of them out there where what you've said is absolutely correct. But, you know, you've got to try. Anyway, this is the daily chat with Andy the Gabby Cabby. Welcome, everybody. It's all been about council tax today. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button. Share this live stream because it's important information. All of that stuff that I did put on the screen at about 8:30, so back in the past now, have on the community page for this channel and also my Facebook page, there'll be a load of blurb there now, which I wrote earlier today, and it will have links which will take you to the templates and the information for all of this that I've discussed this evening. So it's all there for you. It's all free of charge, and it's all bloody good advice. I've used it myself. I've helped others use it, and it branches off into other areas as well with credit cards and loans and how to deal with debt collector issues with them as well. It really is good stuff. So have a look at that. And make sure you've subscribed if you haven't. That's a good thing as well. Wow. Send me a message, Colin. Contact at andygifford.online or get me through Facebook. I'll put my email address on there, actually. Let me know more privately. I don't know if you can see that. Julie Keys, thanks, Andy. We'll take a look. Colin, probably never. You know, in that first couple of weeks, with the amount of bookings that I lost, I reckon I probably lost about 20,000 quid's worth of bookings. It was insane. But I have recovered to a reasonable level. Unfortunately, a lot of people haven't, and I do feel for them. Davis Hardy, can you remember the judge's name, please? I must have missed what that comment was about. Only way to get away from debt collectors is to move abroad. If everyone refused to pay council tax, how would local services be funded? Somebody put a comment the other day. They were saying about the rates back in the early 80s, where the rates were 70 quid for the year. I mean, I'm old enough to remember the rates, even though I was a child in the 80s. And they were getting 90 quid a week wages. Go figure. Look at the world now. It's nuts, isn't it? When these thugs come to your door, why look so angry? Doesn't bother myself, but imagine your mum just out of hospital and them knock on the door. Rex, fetch. Not a question of people refusing. It's a question of if they can afford to pay and are getting the services for which they are paying. And that's arguable with a lot of places now, isn't it, Nick? Very, very much. I found another website as well. Great advice, Andy. Hopefully someone can use it to sort out what they need. That's the idea. If I've helped one person, it's got to be worth it. And it's all out there. Yeah, I found this website. Have a quick look. Angela Graham, what services? Absolutely. Stop council tax bailiffs. Any of the following: pay the council tax arrears online and get a receipt, dispute the liability, deploy pay and reclaim, deploy magician's choice, revoke the debt and the enforcement by running an enforcement compliance check, apply to the council to write off the council tax arrears. And there's a whole other slew of stuff there as well, with legislation and everything else, and exactly what the enforcement agents can and can't do. I'll stick the link in the chat for that as well. A lot of the time they turn up and they think that you don't know, and they try and get their own way with, ignorance. And we need to educate ourselves. This is the thing. We need to educate ourselves. Colin, I just saw your message. I'm trying very unsuccessfully to type my email address. Here you go. Yeah, the more of us that educate ourselves, the better off we're going to be. That's it in a nutshell at the end of the day. And they won't like it. They won't like it. There's a term that I heard, again, on the Funky Prepper, legalese. They tie all of this up in knots, in legalese, layer upon layer of complicated language that they think we won't get and won't understand, so they can do what they like with us. And we have to look for resources online that are out there to, aid and assist us, including this 4-letter process. It works very similarly with credit cards and loans and things like that have gone to debt collectors. All right, the process is different because it's a unsecured debt rather than an actual tax they're saying you've got to pay. But, it's again, I will not deal with you. Put up or shut up, and then follow the process. Right, let's spend the last couple of minutes just having a look through some of the comments, and then we'll wrap it up. I hope everyone's found this useful, and don't forget the documentation is in the community tab and also on my Facebook page as well. Sanity checkers, you make a good point there, my friend. What do we get for our money? A lot of you are saying it. What services? Just having a look through. Next weekend or next week, I'm going to try and get somebody on the channel to have a chat with on the live. I've been working on it for a couple of weeks. Yeah, Colin, I don't know if you got my email address down the bottom. Drop me a line. Rafi, I did see your messages you've been sending me. I'll try and deal with that this evening. I had a bit of an accident a few days ago and I busted my foot up. I done my Achilles tendon, so I've been hobbling around. It's kind of put me off my stride a bit. Colin, that's one way of putting it. David L says I'm correct. Well, I hope I am. Those who do not assert their rights have none. Law, maxim, remedy, learn. Law, maxims. Maxims are indisputable truths. Thousands of years old. Only fools dispute maxims. You know, you get modern day lawyers, don't you, which pledge legislation and all the rest of it. But I think it goes deeper than that, doesn't it? I mean, I'm no lawyer, but I do think it goes deeper than that. I'll finish you with a story that I heard the other day. There was a guy that was helping out. I think it was a lady actually with a debt collection issue. And this lady phoned this guy because the debt collectors had come to her door to say, right, I'm taking your stuff. This guy turns up, who's helping the lady, and throws this debt collector out, physically throws him out. The next thing you know, they want to arrest him for assault because this debt collector has made something up. You know, he's assaulted me. Anyway, the whole thing goes to court. And when you go into court, the accused or the person on trial goes in a witness box, a square witness box. And he turned around and said, I'm not going in there. And I said, come on, sir, all you've got to do is stand in there. He said, I'm not standing in there. And they said, well, go and sit in there then. I'm not sitting in there. Why not? I don't recognise your authority. Case dismissed. Goes back to maritime law, apparently. The accused goes in the square and, you know, because he didn't recognise or considered that the whole thing was, the judge apparently could see what it was and threw it out because this person educated himself. You know, hell of a story. Colin, I need an email address from you. If you can't email me, I need your email address so I can email you. But have a look through the chat. Right, we're at 1 hour and 2 minutes, and I've rabbled enough. I get quite agitated about all this because I don't like these bully boys turning up and sticking it to the man kind of thing, and we do need to educate ourselves. Thank you very much for coming along tonight. Bit of a serious one, but I said to people I'd do it because I've had loads of people now message me asking me for help, and I thought I'd do this live to try and help them. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and get this shared because it's important. If you've got social media or anything like that, please share the link to this live on there, and let's get this out to everybody. There's going to be more content coming out tomorrow from about 8 o'clock in the morning. And over the course of the week, I'm going to try and set up a live with somebody else. Russ, absolutely average. You might know who I'm referring to. Wink. I'm going to try contacting and get that sorted out. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everybody. Even though there's a couple of hours left. I'm going to go and have a beer. And I hope you guys do similar. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for your support again. And when I find the right button to push somewhere around here, I'll bid you all to Lou.